Good morning, interweb. Welcome back to the Artifexian podcast. In this month's episode, a brief talk about the weather leads us, brackets me, into a rant about a particularly pesky blackbird. The Bank of Artifexia goes out not with a whimper, but with a bang as we receive banknotes from a fictional country. Cue a prolonged sleuthing session. In Ycairn, who are the rubble? We find out in an open letter to a bailiff. And finally, I've been working on a new Map of Ycairn, so Bill and I round things off with a bit of a cartographic finale. All that, plus lots more, in this month's episode. Bill, before we start, weather. Can we do weather corner?
I mean, I would love to. Who doesn't love talking about the weather?
I know, right? It's a national pastime. Is the weather class where you are? Are you having a great time in the sun? What does Bill do on a warm day?
I do the same as normal. I just do it slightly warmer. I mean, I didn't leave my flat yesterday until I had to go somewhere. So, but answering the question as intended. There's a kind of a nice park near to where I live. I suppose I'll do that. I have a balcony in my flat, so I would sit on my balcony. There used to be a field with horses in it. You saw that when you came to visit me.
I did.
But the horses are now gone and they're building houses there. So I can't sit on my balcony and look at the horses anymore. But housing is also good.
What is this? What is this building housing you refer to? I've no comprende. I don't understand this concept.
We don't do a lot of it here right now. So I'm not sure why that got the go-ahead, but I'm in favour.
Firmly, yeah. For listeners, that's a joke because we're in a housing crisis and the government either refuses or is too incompetent to actually deliver adequate housing stock for the populace. So that's the joke there. I don't know if I guess maybe with your balcony talk you get this, but I get shock. And you know that meme where it's like men like to stare out windows and just not think? Remember that?
Not exactly, but I think I get the vibe you're going for.
Yeah, there's something like or at least the meme says anyways, it's a very gendered thing. Like men enjoy staring out windows and women look at us and be like, what are you doing? I've been doing the staring out window something serious since the weather became really good. I just find myself standing in front of like our big kind of front room windows and just looking at the nature. And then I realize it's been 15 minutes and I've just been standing here, not thinking about anything, just basking in the sun like a cold-blooded animal. It's been great. It's been absolutely amazing.
You've got an amazing view from there.
Yeah, I mean, it helps if you have because for listeners, we look out over this lake and this, I would call it a mountain, but others would disagree. And it is quite nice in the sun. Usually it's all nasty because it's raining constantly, but for the past week, it's been awesome. Tell you one thing, and I swear we'll actually start so proper in a second. One thing that's annoyed me with this good weather malark is that the birds have started nesting, I believe. Which in and of itself is not a problem. I'm pro birds nesting. That's my stance. Hot take, right?
Another housing crisis.
But there's this one blackbird, this little blackbird. He's he or she, or I guess both of them, maybe. I can't differentiate between them. Do blackbirds show dimorphism? I don't know, actually.
I think so.
Okay, well then, whatever your canonical blackbird, whatever sex that is, the black thing with the orange beak, maybe it's a he. I don't know. But
that's the male. If they got the orange beak, they're male apparently.
Okay, so it's the male. Actually, that would fit with this lad's over aggression. So anyhow, he's nesting right outside our bedroom window, and then every morning at the crack of dawn, he starts tapping really loudly on our window. I'm assuming because he's like, it looks like I can fly through this, but I can't. What is this? Bang, bang, bang. And he goes bloody 90, man. Every morning. And, you know, you walk up to him, I round the corner, look out the window, and there he is sitting there looking at me like a pesky little git, right? And then he takes a beat to just kind of like cock his head to be like, huh. and then flies off like, whee, you can't catch me. And he's the most annoying fecker in the world. So I've dubbed him Seán Óg, right? Seán Óg is out there, and I've given him this name because he reminds me of a sort of avian John Cena. So for anyone who's not into wrestling, John Cena is like one of the biggest wrestlers at the moment, or has been for the past number of years. Everyone knows who John Cena is actually because he's in the general zeitgeist. But in wrestling, he does this thing where he waves his hand in front of his face as a means of saying, you can't see me. Like, I think as a sort of like, you can't touch me, you can't get on my level. And this has spawned a whole bunch of memes where people will like watch a movie with John Cena in it or watch an interview with John Cena and go, wow, that presenter just talked to the couch for 20 minutes, playing up the idea that they can't see John Cena. So this chap, this Seán Óg here of the trees, this blackbird, he's doing the John Cena crack where he kind of looks at me and goes, you can't get me, like you can't see me, and flutters away. So I've called him Seán Óg, and he's an utter prick. And part of me can't wait for nesting season to be over because I literally can't sleep at all in the morning because like 5 o'clock, and it's just going to get worse, Bill. It's going to get worse as the days get longer. It's going to be earlier and earlier and earlier, and he's going to be there hammering away on my window, and I detest it. Rant over. I like the weather. I don't like Seán Óg.
Thank you, Edgar.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Let's do the show proper. Okay.
Let's do the show.
First point. Just the ever-standing, ever-present Discord plug. Links in the show notes. We have a Discord. Like, there's a general public Discord that caters for both the main channel and for the Patreon. Not Patreon, and for the podcast. So just check it out if that's your preferred means of communication. One thing that I just want to bring up from the Discord that comes from DFYX, our resident German in chief, they were saying, a quote, "As a patron, I fully support the idea of Artifexian science theater, whatever, 3000, where Bill swears."
You have never sounded more culty than you did right in that moment.
Oh, Han, the theater.
When you said a theater.
Theater.
We're going to go to the theater in our vehicle.
In our modern vehicle. Anyway, sorry, I'll take that again. I'm still not going to be able to say the word correctly, but quote, "As a patron, I fully support the idea of Artifexian science theater, I can't, 3000, where Bill swears as much as he wants." This is in reference to Prometheus, right? Where we talked last time about how you dislike Prometheus, and I was like, we should watch it together.
I wouldn't say I dislike it.
You hate it? You despise it?
Yeah, I think that's probably...
You loathe it.
Probably more accurate.
But I was saying we should totally watch it together and make for great content, and it'd be a good excuse to hang out. And just DFYX reminded me of this last night as I was going through preparing the show notes. This idea has not left my head, Bill. I think this is such a good idea. It's gone from a joke to a real serious suggestion, and I think we should do it. And I have an idea in that we should, it's not a radical idea, but maybe around Christmas time, if you were willing to have me, I could maybe come up to where you live, and we could meet up IRL, and we could maybe watch the thing, and then do some sort of recording, and you'll just be so happy about that.
I will hate it, but it sounds like a fun idea.
Yes. Okay, internet, don't hold us to that, because logistically that could all fall apart, depending on our movements come the Christmas season. But it is in my notes as a thing to pursue. I can't wait. It'd be so good. So that was Discord, DFYX. The other thing is, just from last time, just to restate, no more PO Box. We shut down the PO Box because it became a vehicle for obnoxious customs charges and a bunch of spam and fraudulent emails, essentially, and it just became a little bit much to manage. Sam, closer, come closer, Sam. Too close, back off, a little bit closer. Good. I'm sorry, Sam. Because Sam loves sending us stuff. Sam the barber. And yeah, I'm just, I'm. It's really sad that I needed to shut it down, but it just wasn't working. So do not. I've tried to wipe out this from the internet. I've almost certainly missed the thing, but just do not send anything to any address that you see related to Artifexian. That they are old, defunct addresses, and you'll just get your mail bounced back to you. Heads up. So in light of this, final item of follow-up, world's shortest follow-up, we got an email from Spencer O'Dowd, long-time listener. And Spencer writes, the subject of Spencer's email is Special Final Bank of Artifexia installment. I think this is a baller way to sign it off. So I'm just going to read out, it's not too long, so I'm going to read out the whole shebang. I'm sorry to hear about the closure of the Bank of Artifexia. Rip to the goat. But I thought I'd send this along in order to sort of commemorate it. I can guarantee that this is a banknote that you have not received, as this is from a fictional world. As you've said before, I will not be giving any details on this world, and you'd have to try and fill in the blanks based on what you see. I will tell you, though, that this banknote in universe is a polymer banknote similar to modern note series of Canada, Australia, and Britain, and is worth about $450 USD, €420 Euro, and 352 sterling. That's very precise, in purchasing power. All the rest is up to you and Bill to try and figure out. I'm thinking about commissioning the artist. Do I mention the artist? Yeah, okay, I think I can. Yeah, Do Wise WS, we'll say, on Fiverr, for the rest of the series. And if I do, I'll send the rest over your way to see if you can figure anything else out about it. Good luck. So before we look at this, I will say, definitely commission this artist, Spencer. These are awesome. And I am always excited to see banknotes, even if now they come in digital form. So yeah, totally do send it over. So in the show notes right now, and in the chapter right now, or on the YouTube video, you're going to see the obverse and reverse of these banknotes that Spencer has sent in. So our job, Bill, if you're willing to partake in the game, well, you kind of have a choice because you're a co-host, is to try and figure out what in the hell is going on with these banknotes. Can we surmise anything about the setting at all? I'm going to shift it over to you.
Okay, so I'm looking at, I assume this is the obverse. Yes, the obverse. Right. So we've got kind of a yellow color in a very sort of, all that very cross-hatchy fine detail they use on banknotes. On the left, there's a portrait of Charles Sumner, the inaugural Prime Minister. And that's repeated in, I think, Spanish and French.
I think so.
This is a value of £1, this note, issued from the Bank of New England. I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £1 here or in Boston. And it's signed by the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Okay, so there's a few things here. 3 languages, English, French, and Spanish, seem to be used, although the Spanish less so. Spanish is used in a couple of places, but English and French seem to be used in all of them. I'm fairly sure Charles Sumner is a historical figure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. In the background of the design, there's what appears to be kind of like a pine tree or something. I think it's like, is it like the flag of Vermont? Has something like that on it, which would make sense as it's kind of, well, it doesn't, kind of does.
And also, if I can jump in, lots of the kind of, I guess, the cross-hatching stuff has a pine motif. Like there's pine cones running up the right-hand side of the obverse. See that?
Yes, you're totally right. So there are. This is, I think, quite like the design of UK banknotes at the moment, just in its visual language. I'm not positive on that, but that's kind of the sort of feeling I have. Okay, I will look at the reverse and then I will give some thoughts. Okay.
Reverse on screen now, folks.
Right. Again, we have the Bank of New England in English and French and Spanish. I assume that's Spanish. I'm better at I'm not as good at identifying Spanish as I am French. The phrase given here, the kind of slogan on it is "Equality of rights is the first of all rights." There's a drawing of a building which is identified as Beacon House, and again, it's issued by the Bank of New England. Also, I suppose given in three languages is the value of the note. So one in English, una, and then uma in different corners of the...
Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of the same type of design. It's the same like cross-hatchy design on the back. Right. I Googled who Charles Sumner was.
Okay.
Because I knew he was a historical figure, so I wanted to get some context. Hopefully that doesn't count as cheating. He was a United States Senator from 1851 until 1874 from Massachusetts. And he was an advocate for the abolition of slavery. So I reckon what's gone on here is this is an alternate history where New England seceded from the United States, or there was some kind of collapse of the United States around the Civil War time over the issue of slavery. And there isn't really a name of a country given here. We just have the Bank of New England.
I would work on the assumption that the country is called New England.
Yeah, something like that. Presumably its capital in Boston. And Charles Sumner was then the first prime minister of this new country. I'm going to Google Beacon House, Boston. I'll see what significance that has.
Man, this has turned into a real like detective case where it's like, I'm gonna look at this detail and research that. I like it. I love it.
Beacon House, Beacon Hill, historic neighborhood. The Massachusetts State House is there. Okay. Okay, that drawing on the obverse is the state capital of Massachusetts, like in real life at the moment. So I guess that's the government of this country in this alternate history is housed there.
Hey, can I jump in here with a little bit of linguistic poking?
Sure.
You remember you said on the reverse we have £1, right? English. Yeah. And then we have un, or une, I can't pronounce French. It doesn't matter. That's clearly French. Uma isn't Spanish. That would be uno.
Yeah, that I was kind of wondering about that as well, but I wasn't confident enough in my Spanish to be sure.
Latin? Is it Latin?
I mean, but if we look at the other stuff, like Banco da Nova Inglaterra doesn't seem Spanish, and it doesn't look Portuguese, any of this stuff either. Oh, hold on. If we look on the obverse, where it says Chancellor of the Exchequer, Ministro das Finanzas, and there's like a cedilla or whatever on the C. Spanish doesn't have that, does it?
No. What?
Okay, so it probably is Portuguese then. I didn't see any tills over things, so I didn't think it was Portuguese for that reason.
Wow. Okay. Massive. Okay. I really hope this is as fun for the listeners as it is for us, because I really do feel like your man from CSI, the ginger lad, just figuring stuff out. Yep. In Portuguese, the one is either we're going to mispronounce this or uma, so it's right. Portuguese. What is the Portuguese slant there?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was interesting enough with the Spanish because, I mean, I don't associate New England with having an awful lot of Spanish heritage, and I certainly associated less with having any sort of Portuguese heritage. That is weird. Very weird. And also, another thing I found...
You have an idea that there is a big like Portuguese community in Boston or something?
Is there?
I have an idea. That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, well, I'll defer that to you because I have no idea. The other thing I would like to see here is whether or not there is a year printed anywhere. Because the thing that's tripped me up is, I think you're dead right about your hypothesis. This is a history of North America, basically. But the thing that's really tripped me up is that it feels like this feels like a really modern note. And Spencer did even say, like, I have equivalent purchasing power in modern currencies.
Yeah, and it's a modern polymer style banknote.
Correct. So what's tripping me up a little bit is that this must be, it must be like, this alt history timeline. It is 2025 in this alt history timeline, and this is the note of this region. Because my immediate thought was like, oh, we're back in whatever, the 1800s or something. But I don't think that's the case. I think this is a modern alt history, if you will.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is awesome. And I just want to say, for anyone who's not like, if there's people driving and they're like, I can't look up my phone to see these things. When you get home, look at these banknotes. They are like indistinguishable from real banknotes. The artwork is so true to life. Like it is, and the attention to detail, like on the reverse, you have those red digits that are often stamped on the note. That's there.
Yeah. On both sides, that is.
Oh yeah, sorry, on both sides. You got that wonderful cross hatching in Sumner's face that you see an awful lot of. This artist that Spencer's found is unbelievably good at this. Like unreal. Any other theories on that, Bill?
No. The Portuguese thing is kind of the big wrinkle, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Maybe something to do with the fact that it's like an abolitionist state, or it's the first prime minister was an abolitionist, and to do with the slave trade in Brazil, because I think it carried on quite a while in Brazil beyond it did in North America. I think. Let me check that.
Or I mean, could this alt history timeline be even deeper? Could it be that there was just the Portuguese maybe first colonized the States, or North America, and then maybe the British came in afterwards. So in this timeline, you do have a very, very robust kind of Portuguese population, and then in comes a robust English population, and then this is the result of that. It could be it.
In conclusion, neat.
I love this. I absolutely love this. Spencer, just well done on the setup. Let us know if we're correct. Maybe let us know just in email. Don't let us know publicly, just in case anyone would like to do detective work with us here and try and figure out the minutia of this setting. Let us trash it out in comments, and then maybe you email us, and next show we'll be able to reveal the truth of the setting. This is just baller. And with that was ostensibly follow up. Done. Should we? Do you want to read me a story, Bill?
I would love to read you a story.
Thanks.
Very hungry caterpillar. So, this episode I have written a letter, but in different form to my usual letters. This is an open letter.
I love that. You were kind of like, guys, just hear me out. It's okay. It's not
Hold
the
on.
usual. You can stay for this. It'll be interesting.
Open letter to Chief Bailiff Sarta. It is with great alarm and concern I hear of the municipal bailiff's response to the unrest taking place in the alleys of this city these past 2 days. In response to justified defence of our city's security and heritage, your officers have taken into custody the young people of the tendency known as the Rubble. Though any disturbance to the peace of our city is cause for regret, recent history has seen far greater violence than the tavern brawls and street skirmishes of which these citizens are accused. Indeed, if the public understanding of the events is true, the Rubble were protesting against the dissemination of rumours and falsehoods injurious to the public good, and acting in the interest of the health of its population and prosperity. Agents of agitation, spreading allegations of mutiny among the bailiffs, claims of uprisings in company towns, speaking of abuses in company labour. These were the lies spread by those the rubble bravely fought and defeated. In light of the severity of these falsehoods, and their aspect of agitation, the same agitation that so late caused such destruction to this fine and ancient city, the brave citizens of the rubble acted with honour and wisdom in combating this rhetoric. Their actions have to a far greater degree benefited the city than harmed it. Greater yet again than the harm caused by allowing such agitation to spread unchecked. The Tamar Company has long held a special relationship with the office of Chief Bailiff of Lansk. Given our close relationship, particularly during the term of your late predecessor Eintov, we call on you to dismiss all proceedings against the rubble, and to restore to them their liberty, and thus continue to protect the city against the destruction wrought by agitation. Dajag Tashensha, Commander, Tamar Company Lansk Depot. Open letter circulated among broadsheets of the Abeski cities.
So, just to pull back the curtain a little bit, folks. Normally, when Bill reads these things, as you know, anyone would, you'd make little slips when you're speaking. You have to retake paragraphs, check the intonation. I think that's the first time, Bill, since we've been doing this, where you just went through it all in one go. No cuts, no
Bang,
edits.
bang, bang. Smashed it, bruv.
You're a storyteller. Okay. Will you start? Give me summary thoughts, etc.
This is part of my ongoing setting, describing a sort of a labour unrest, a society-wide labour unrest in the Abeski culture. The city that this is referring to, Lansk, was recently, in the last year or so, the site of a significant uprising where labour activists seized control of part of the city and held it for a time until it was taken back by the city and with the aid of the Tamar Company, who are sort of like a militarized trading company, something in the line of the East India companies. Mm-hmm. What has happened in this installment is there has been an increase in reactionary violence. So this sort of gang or tendency, who are identified as the rubble, started kicking off at labour activists and have been arrested for fighting and public nuisance and assault and such. And what is happening here is a high-ranking member of the military trading company is publicly calling out the authorities of the city for cracking down on reactionary violence.
So if I can try and put this in modern parlance a little bit to see whether or not I've got the right end to stick, is this kind of like the high-ranking official here is sort of a Trump character? The rubble are like the Proud Boys, and then the agitationists are kind of like, we'll say, Black Lives Matter sort of thing.
Yeah, there'd be similarities. Yeah, it wouldn't match one-on-one, but sure.
Yeah, but that's the general vibe. Because one of my initial questions when reading this was wondering whether or not the rubble was like astroturfed or not, or I guess you can be both in a way. Because it could just be a bunch of reactionaries who genuinely feel that thing, who feel like, you know, these agitations are terrible or whatever, or this could just be like a bunch of Tamar Company, a creation directly of the Tamar Company. Mm-hmm. So like and you've talked about this before, where you're kind of like an informal sort of military wing of the companies. But this feels like this is more like just reactionary normal people forming the core of this rubble group.
Well, you're right about the informal wing aspect of it. Like the Tamar Company has been supportive of the rubble and of this kind of reactionary, counter-revolutionary action.
Right,
so
but
they're stepping in here to protect the boys who are on their side.
absolutely. But we're not saying that the smart company like had a hand in setting up the rubble.
No. It arose organically.
Yes.
And the Tamar company has been helping.
Okay, because to be honest with you, the name really made it feel like it maybe was astroturfed, because the rubble feels like I don't know, it feels a little bit like the higher ups in the Tamar company are like, what's a name that them poor people would be used of? Well, sure, like, you know, in the poor quarters, the city's in ruin after all the agitation, lots of rocks and stuff about. We'll call them the rubble. That sounds like what poor people would call themselves, right? Wouldn't it? You know, it's
I like how you said stuff. Like, the Tamar company is the Healy Rays.
Okay, we're going to need to put that in context for people. The Healy Rays are a family, let's call it an Irish political dynasty, but like, don't think the grandeur of American political dynasties. Think more like more small scale, more local. And essentially they're just like, they come from Kerry, way down south in the country. They're very rural, and they have a lot of them have a very thick accent. And they're also, just to show my political leanings here, a bunch of idiots. Now we can move on. Actually, if I may, sorry, people might find this hilarious. So, of late, right, the government has begun to change the rules of the speed limits on the roads. They essentially, what they've done is they're taking down the speed limit, the default speed limit, on roads, plus some other things. But what that effectively means, that in places where you legally could have driven, say, 80 kilometers per hour, but really the road did not support that speed, now it's been taken down to a more kind of sensible speed for those road types, right? Which in practice, I think is fine. It's grand. But your man, I think it was Michael Healy Ray, again, of the Healy Ray dynasty, was on telly there one of the days giving out about it. And then, like, you know, they were like, the presenter put it to him and was kind of like, what's the problem with lowering the speed limits on, you know, tiny roads? That some of which have, like, there's an 80 road, or was an 80 road around where I live, where it has like a grass, you know, one of those like country roads where the grass median, it's a two-way, one-way road, one of those things. It's an 80 road, right? The presenter was like, how can you justify going 80 on that? And Michael just goes, but sure, look, you need to have a bit of common sense out there. We've all lost the common sense. And I'm like, that's not a response. You can't like set the rules of society to be like, we'll set them as whatever, and we'll just assume that everyone's going to have, quote, common sense. Like, what a moron. That was just, it was gas. Anyhow, sorry, I realize no one has any context to this, so it means nothing, but it's gas to me. He's hilarious. What was I saying? Yes, but you see what I'm saying about the name Rubble? Like, it sounds very much like that's the PR team got together and thought about, how are we going to brand this, you know?
Yeah, I was going for more genuine kind of despair and nihilism. Like, this is like they're feeling aggrieved by things, and this is what they're surrounded by. They're surrounded by the destruction and the rubble, and so, well, that's what we are. I mean, and taking that as a mascot.
I mean, that can that can obviously be true. You know, but yeah, like that's really interesting. I enjoy in this bill the sort of the real world parallels. I enjoy that we now have like a third competing sort of situation going on. Companies, agitators, and then the reactionary side, because I don't think we've heard much about like groundsfolk reactionaries. So we have that going on now, which is great. And I also love as well at the very end of the letter that you're like, open letter circulated among broadsheets of the Ibesky cities. Like, very much like, you know, we're doing PR here. Like, this is PR. Come on.
Yeah. They're very publicly calling out Chief Bailiff Sarta, and making, like, making a point of, we're saying this to everyone. And the message of Chief Bailiff to Eintov in the last paragraph there, it may be that Sarta has cottoned on to the fact that Te Eintov was taken out by the Tamar Company. So there's a veiled threat in there.
Yeah, a really thinly veiled assassination threat. In general, how is Sarta getting on as Chief Bailiff? Is he or she, I can't remember, have they proven to be, outside of this case here, have they proven to be a decent replacement? And I suppose, can you frame that in the eyes of both the groundsfolk and the companies?
I mean, he's generally done the job as expected, which is largely in line with what the companies want. And the groundsfolk have their usual, the bailiffs aren't necessarily the good guys. The bailiffs are, by definition and by the virtue of what they do, kind of an enemy. But, some people are like, they have to do it. You need to have cops. But he also is in a difficult position here because he can't just let people go around starting fights and starting riots and let it go unpunished or unaddressed. But the company here is trying to strong arm him because the rebel are fighting for the same ideals as the companies. So generally he's been doing a good job, but he's in a difficult position with this situation.
And I'm assuming because he strikes me as a sort of law and order dude here, in the way that the companies aren't, because the companies are kind of like, yeah, we're down with rioters here as long as the rioters agree with us. This dude Sarta is kind of like you said, like he needs to keep the city running, so he's kind of like, I'm anti rioting and violence because I need to keep peace here. I need to keep law and order. I'm assuming that must play, at least in part, well with groundsfolk, because if I'm someone who lives under a constant threat of falling foul of some agitationist campaign, and now the rubble, and then also I suppose the Tamar Company as well, they must look at someone like that and was kind of like, finally we've gotten someone here, the municipality has gotten someone here who's just going to like crack down on this nonsense. Is he popular with the groundsfolk in any way?
Maybe not popular, but like he does represent a sort of stability and status quo, which, however bad a status quo is, it's still something that you're familiar with, and there's always risks associated with change. So it's kind of safe.
It's truism. People like, what is it? Death, taxes, and aversion to change are the only guaranteed things in life. People hate change.
I've not heard that formulation of it. The aversion to change part is new.
That is a unique Edgar formulation of that. Right. And I'm going to say not as snappy as the original. Have I missed anything?
I don't think so. Dajag Tashenshaw is a recurring character, of course. We've had Chief Bailiff Sarta mentioned once before, I think. Ycairn Sarta is his name.
Surely they would have been mentioned after Te Eintov was met an untimely end.
Yeah. One of the letters after that, I think he was mentioned in.
Wait, am I misremembering this? I almost certainly am. I always misremember this. I thought they, after Te Eintov got brutally murdered, and they brought in some lady who was known for like her brutalism all out in the field, and they brought her in to like sort things out.
That's a Tamar Company position. That's not the bailiff.
Okay. Great. Yeah, cool prose, man.
Thank you.
Shall we proceed into conlanging? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Let's.
And by conlanging, I mean not conlanging. So I need to apologize.
Non-langing.
Non-langing. Very good. I need to apologize. I have I got nerd sniped by a thing, Bill, and that has kind of consumed my non-main channel Artifexian life of late. So I bring you something new in light of having conlang done. I'm so sorry about this.
I will find it in my heart to forgive you.
Oh, thanks. I also, listeners, I also did this without Bill's permission, but Bill knows what's going on because we were doing this on the live stream. I streamed these sessions to main channel and to the podcast patrons. Bill was there and it was all very fun because I was like, I didn't ask Bill permission to do this. And Bill was like, I know, as he watches me do a thing that I didn't ask permission for. Basically, I was sitting watching the previous, being in chat for the previous premiere, right? And I was like, I need to do something about the Map of Ycairn. Like, it has served us well. A very, very nice map. But since its inception, it had one major flaw. And that major flaw is that it wasn't in a 16:9 aspect ratio. So it didn't fill up the screen on the YouTube video. And those black bars have always annoyed me. But there was just something about last week where I was like, now's the time. I'm gonna redo the Map of Ycairn to make it fit with the YouTube video. So without asking Bill's permission, I just fired ahead and did that because sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness as opposed to permission. Started streaming the thing, and if everyone wants to look at the video now, in fact, actually now on the video and in the chapter art, you will see the old map, right? Have a look at it. Going to give you a few seconds, and then right now, it's going to switch over.
Here.
Say again?
Put in a drum roll here.
Hey, yeah, wait. Now it's going to switch over to the new map. Now, caveats here is that this is not finalized. It's still a work in progress. There's just, obviously, because there's no text on the map, there's no borders listed, there's no Photoshop effects to make the page look faded and stuff. But before cracking on, I really, really wanted to get Bill, your opinion on this, is whether or not there's anything in here that you despise, because, no point having that. So I suppose I will pass it over to you. And you can give me some thoughts, and then I might ask particular questions, and then we can wrap up the show.
This is neat.
Good review. All right, show's over. Well done. We'll see you all next month, folks.
I have some purely kind of critical cartographical questions. Yes. Critical cartographical. Man, that's hard.
It's pronounced
critical
theater.
Cartographical. What?
It's pronounced theater.
Who has made this map?
This is obviously an in-universe question, correct?
Yeah, diegetically.
Surely you're the one to answer that question, no?
Okay, potentially. If it is a Besky, I don't know that they would have indications of the depth of the sea. Okay,
this is great. I'm really glad you brought this up. This came up actually on the live stream. I think it was Eric who brought this up. I'm so sorry if it wasn't Eric, patron Eric, and it was someone else, but I think it was Eric. If you refer to the old map, you will see that there is bathymetric lines in the sea.
Damn.
So in the old map, there was those lines. Now, I had intended on keeping those lines. And in addition to those lines, I was going to add this like water ripple effect, not to indicate sea bathymetry. I think that's the word you're meant to use, or elevation below sea level, but purely just literally as a stylistic, artistic effect. Literally water ripples. We drew some ripples on the map to make it look pretty. That's our cartographic effect that we do, also Besky people. I was going to keep both, and it turned out that chat was right about this. It looked way too cluttered. And then Eric stepped in and said, I don't understand why people who are concerned with the air would have anything marked in the sea. So I got rid of all those topographic lines, but I left in the ripples on the map because A, I think they look cool, and B, I think they give a sort of like, if you squint your eyes, there's a bit of shade that differentiates further the land from the sea, which I think it looks quite good. So if you are happy not viewing those ripples as topographics information and just art, I would love to keep them in. And also, it took me a catastrophic amount of time to make those bloody ripples because it's not something I've done before in Illustrator. So please don't wipe out those many hours of work.
Okay, that's legit. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Are you displeased at all with the fact that I just a whole cloth created a new little island on the map just for the lols?
I did notice that. That is fine.
Okay. Listeners, or watchers, even at this stage, top right-hand corner of the map, you see a tiny little bit of land poking out. Like there's a little, like, it looks like a little headland with a little offshore island. I just made that up just to like, almost as a means of trolling, just to be all like, aha, I am the cartographer. I shall put in this map whatever the hell I want. Because that obviously wouldn't have been in the original map because the original map did not extend that far.
You have also decided that the Usain belt ends in the east here, in the west here.
I have. I had no information to go on as to whether or not it should extend or not. And I felt like extending it might have been too much of an overreach on my part. I don't know. I can extend it. Do you want it extended?
No, it's not especially, not particularly. I think it's all right as it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe like a little bit more rugged there, but not as high as the rest of it.
I mean, we can totally extend the Usain belt. For listeners, again, this is the main mountain range running basically. What is it? Southeast to northwest across the map.
In the western portion of the map.
Yeah, and it terminates there roughly around the big upside-down heart-shaped lake, the Selin Lake. Would you like me to? I can extend it out to the page border.
No. Just maybe like make that area a little more rugged.
A little more. So this is the area immediately kind of west of the lake, the Selin Lake. Yeah. Okay, I can do that. That's not a problem. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, this is cool.
Okay.
So you said you want to put in the borders and the effects to make it look like a map, an old-timey map.
Yeah, like that's putting big dirty vignette on it. Yeah, making like bunch of grunge marks and things like that. Basically, like the effect we had on the previous map, because this is obviously way too flat and looks like it's been made in Illustrator, which we need to get rid of that effect.
Yeah. Feel free if you want to do a little bit more like playing around with contour in the southeast, or if you want to leave it blank because that's where the compass rose is, that's cool.
Interesting. Okay, so on the old map, I really should have a side-by-side comparison. Okay, in the show notes, I won't do this in the video because the aspect ratio is going to be weird. In the show notes, I might just like make an image of both maps together so people can open that and look at them if they so desire. But in the old map, I, past Edgar, went a bit, I thought a little bit ham with putting contour lines everywhere. And upon reflection, I was like, I don't know if that's actually a good idea. There's absolutely nothing wrong, obviously, with having low-lying, relatively gently inclined plains outside of the mountainous regions. And so I basically made a sort of call to remove as much of the contour lines outside of the mountains as possible. Just for contrast's sake and also for a little bit of realism's sake. I can reverse that if you so desire. Like if you want a lot more contour lines in the sort of blankish areas, so that's in the southeast, the southwest, all that, I can totally do that.
I mean, do you think an expanse that big with so little contour is plausible? Is my thing really, and I will leave that up to you, because you would know better than I would. I don't look at this and think, oh God, that seems wrong. Okay. At all. In fact, I would look at the previous map because the previous map made it look like almost like more of very chaotic.
Very chaotic, but that implied that the map was more zoomed in than it perhaps was, because obviously the more you zoom in, the more granular the detail, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like this was, instead of this being a map of Europe, say, it looks like you zoomed in on just like the western part of, Ireland and
Gotcha.
did contours from that. So it didn't feel large scale enough, to me. But I again, if you can always fire off text and be like, "Nah, man, I want more contours," and I can make that happen. That's fine. Like that doesn't. It cost me basically no time to do that. But personally, I am more happy with the contours in this version map than the previous version.
Cool.
Okay. May I direct your attention to the compass rose?
You may.
Okay. What do you think this is? Like, what do you think is going on? Like, can you see any symbolism going on? Anything at all? Because I tried to do a thing.
Are they feathers?
Okay, well, I failed at the thing. Okay, so Bill thinks that the spokes on the compass rose, the cardinal directions, are feathers. Interesting. Okay. Anything else that pops out to you?
Propeller blades?
Yes, that's what I was going for. So the intent, and I fully admit that I don't think I've actually pulled off the thing, but to be honest with you, it's so far gone that I can't reverse it. Is that I was like, I want to make a compass rose for the map. I think it would look really nice. And then I tried to be like, well, what might be a Besky draw for a compass rose? And I was like, can I bring in aspects of aviation, because they're an aviating people. Can you use it like that? They're an aviating people. Is that a correct usage? Did I English good?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, there are people of the skies, in other words. And so I was like, wait a minute, propellers. Why don't I make the compass rose star not a star but a propeller? And so I was like, that's great. Went and looked up the shapes of propellers, yada, yada. And I also had this idea to do shading with just like cross hatching, just with lines. And I was like, that would look kind of like rustic and like, Gutenberg printed press sort of jazz. That'd be great crack altogether. So I did that and completed the thing. And those propellers look very much like feathers. It looks like a North American native people's headdress sort of thing. And not at all like propellers on a airplane. Now, at this stage, like I said, I'm too far gone. Unless you think this looks completely not in keeping with anything at all, I would just put it there and never actually talk about that again. And just have it function as a compass rose and not talk about symbolism. Because yeah, I don't think I can pull that off. I'm not that arty. And the other thing about it is that the little swirls that are running up the not feathers, they're technically meant to because they're not banners, right? I didn't go into all the detail to make them look like proper banners. They're meant to be symbolism of the wind. Like the wind is
that makes sense.
Yeah, curling around, wrapping around the airplane propellers. So it's like wind, sky, aviation, that sort of thing. I think this is an okay compass rose. I think I failed on like really delivering that symbolism. Thoughts, Bill?
I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm not mad about the aesthetic of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Could you angle it?
Oh, sounds dangerous.
About that's 90. About 25 degrees anti-clockwise.
You want me to angle it so it's 25 degrees anti-clockwise?
So like up isn't north. Exactly. It's a little bit off.
I can do that. I just
don't want to.
No. I just don't like. Again, the best you do what the best you do. But I wonder, is there a convention that you just rotate the map to show north is up,
I don't know,
as opposed to rotating the compass rose? Something about a 25-degree rotated compass rose seems to me like that would look wonky. But
I feel like it's the kind of thing I've seen.
Possibly. I literally don't know. I literally have no idea. So I wonder, I mean, yeah, I can look. I can totally do that. And if
Well, leave it with me. Let me think about it, because that was my original conception of it.
well, no, but hold on. I don't think. I think we're just going to do what you say here, because I don't think leaving with you is a good idea. Because if we need to accurately reflect what's going on in a Besk. So if north is kind of where northwest is, we have to show that. And I can very easily rotate the compass rose. I cannot very easily rotate the map, right? Because if I do that, there's more stuff that I'm going to be just drawing in without your input. So even if it's wonky and even if it breaks convention or something, I would just be more than happy to do that and just say that's the Abeski convention, whatever the hell.
Well, I just meant more like, leave it with me whether I actually am tied to that being north.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's a very easy thing to change on the map.
Yes, whereas rotating the map is a catastrophically hard thing to change at this stage. And in fact, with a lot of the effects and stuff that I've put in, it would require just a redrawing of an awful lot. Not just adding stuff, but redrawing a whole shebang, which I'm not, to be honest with you, man, I love you and I love your stuff. I'm not into doing that.
That's fair.
Was there anything else I was going to ask about that? Yeah, this border on the map, are you okay with that? Again, this is just purely just artistic, filling it up with stuff, because maybe I look at the past as being a bit simplistic, or I look at it simplistically, but I always think of like ye olde things as just having too much crack going on, like just lots of stuff everywhere. And while I fully admit that the map as it stands is not overly cluttered, the addition of the border and the compass rose and all that just adds a little bit more clutter as compared to the old map. So this border isn't functional really. Like, it's meant to be indicative of graticules and stuff, but I don't think we should get there. I think if you're comfortable just saying it's a border just for art's sake, I would love to keep it.
Pure aesthetics. Yeah, no, that's fine with me.
Pure aesthetics. Great. Okay. And the final thing I wanted to know, and I should have included in this map, but I didn't. Listeners, your version that you see, you might have it on your map. I don't know. Would you be comfortable? This area of the planet, region, whatever. This is called Abesk. Is it?
The Abesk is the people.
So this wouldn't be, it wouldn't be fair to label this as Ycairn, because Ycairn is the whole planet, correct?
Ycairn's the whole planet, yeah.
Does this region that's depicted here have a name?
I mean, you could probably call it like the Abesk region, because this is where they situate themselves. But the Abesk is sort of the name of the people rather than anything else. But there's probably, you could probably do something like that.
Okay. How would you feel about in the bottom left-hand corner, southwest, a big, dirty, calligraphic, giant lump of text stating what's on the map?
As in, map of the Abesk Heartland and surrounding environs. Or something like that. Possibly
less words than that, but yes, something like that. And it would be big. Like, so if you okay, hold on. So if you look at the border, right? God, this is just describing visuals on audio form. It's great crack. So if you go to the left side of the page and look at the border, the second black bar up from the top, up from the bottom, imagine you draw a rectangle starting there. That's the top corner, and the bottom corner of the rectangle is somewhere midway through the second bar from the left on the bottom. So like a big honking, like in that rectangle, there'd be some sort of the Abesk region or environs. Again, just
you're going to miss out the city of Atienne.
If I can design it such that you're still able to see the city, would you be up for this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. In the spirit of just adding more stuff. And also, it is quite good to label one's map to be like, this is what is being depicted. And I can always also I could just have a tiny one. Like, you could have one that's basically only in the sea, for example, or maybe only in the plains. I can have a smaller label, but I would like to stick in a label. That would be, just more stuff. More is more with this aesthetic, I feel. Okay, I don't think I have anything else to add. And what I will say is, because I've been nerd sniped. I just need to finish this project, exercise it from my mind, and then I'll get back to doing the TAM stuff we talked about. So hopefully next month, Bill, this whole shebang will be wrapped up. I'll show it to you, and then the following month thereafter, there'll be some sort of conlang stuff happening. Are you happy with that plan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sorry, I did the classic thing where I procrastinated work by doing more work. Great crack.
Famous.
Yeah. Okay, anything else to add, or should we wrap this mofo up?
Let's wrap this up.
So, folks, thank you for watching the show. Thank you for supporting the show over on Patreon. Hello, chat. How are you getting on?
Sup, chat?
Hit us up on Discord, email, Reddit, all that sort of jazz if you want to chat about the show. Yeah, we will see you next month. So until next time, Edgar out.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Do I need a fresh copy?
No. Well, look, I'll pop it in anyway, just to be on the. Oh, so you can, if you need to quote anything.
An open letter point to.
Open letter to a bailiff.
An open letter to a bailiff.
What is that accent?
It's like the local accent.
It sounded a little more sing-song than I was familiar with.
Oh, I mean, okay, it was a bit bouncy, but I would say it's quite an archaic old person sort of thing.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, I am recording.
Download. That's all right. You take your time, internet. That's fine. I've got all the time in the world, particularly today. That's cool. An open letter to a bailiff. Okay, now that was taking the piss. Okay,
That it sounded like. Did you ever see the cat that says "Oh Long Johnson"?
Oh Long Johnson. Yeah.
Oh Don Piano.
What? All live long day.